Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. It's hard to believe that today, June 15th, is 3 years ago, 3 years since Summer Wells disappeared. Now, we all know for sure the story, script, whatever you want to call it, that Candace and Don Wells like to tell. But it's heartbreaking to me that we are 3 years and doesn't seem to be any closer to any answers. The case of Summer Wells was the first case I covered here on the channel when I started in November of 2021. And it's close to my heart. This little girl has become close to my heart. And it breaks my heart that we're still no closer to finding little Summer Wells.
We will not quit until we find Summer Wells.
As we've said time and time again, the circumstances leading to Summer's disappearance are very much under investigation. And at this time, we continue to explore all possibilities.
The case began as an endangered child alert issued by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation back on June 15th. The next day, TBI elevated that to an Amber Alert.
Me and my mother and her were planting flowers. And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma, and she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said, okay, and I walked her all the way over to the porch, and I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer, I'll be back. And within 2 minutes I came back, and I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone.
Me and Candace know for a fact that Summer was abducted. We know that.
We had hoped to have good news to share with you by now, but unfortunately, we do not. The search for 5-year-old Summer Wells remains ongoing. At this time, there is no evidence that she was abducted. However, all avenues continue to be explored, including foul play and the very real possibility that she wandered off and became lost in the mountainous and rough terrain surrounding her home.
We really don't know anything more, but everything's still on the table. Everybody that's involved in this case is a person of interest. We've not ruled anyone out.
Well, I know in my heart and in my mind she was abducted. Someone snuck up there when we weren't exactly paying attention, and we don't know if they come in the basement and grabbed her, or if she stepped outside the basement and was walking to her swing or something.
There haven't been very many cases like this. I believe that she would probably be somewhere close by, because we found nothing to lead us to believe that she's been abducted or trafficked out of the area. I'm not going to let it go cold.
Summer is still missing, and we are more concerned than ever and desperate to find her. TBI agents continue to work with the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office and the FBI in an effort to determine what happened to Summer. To reiterate that the circumstances leading to Summer's disappearance remain unclear. While every case is different, this one is definitely outside of the norm. Typically, in an investigation like this one, we have some idea of where the case is headed and what might have happened within a few days. In this situation, despite doing everything within our power and exploring all avenues, the circumstances leading to Summer's disappearance remain unclear.
Candace, I'm going to have to ask you some hard questions. I told you this. Did you do anything to Summer?
No.
Do you know what happened to Summer?
No.
Do you know who took Summer?
No.
Anybody in your family involved with this?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
We have to prepare ourselves for a worst case scenario. We could always hope for a good scenario, but you know, it can't be good because no matter what situation she's in, she's lost her freedom. Even if she's alive, she's lost her freedom. She can't be seen in public. There's not one shred of evidence. There's nothing. As much as they've looked, as much as the work of this they've done, they haven't been able to come up with anything.
Whatever the outcome is, I have hope in God, and one day, either sooner or later, I will be with my daughter again.
Now, the TBI did post a video yesterday, which was Friday, and they are renewing their commitment to finding Summer Wells. And this video really, really touched my heart. So I'm going to just play it in its entirety for those, especially if you haven't seen it.
When I see the picture of Summer Wells, I see my daughter. And I can tell you that if my daughter was missing, I would sure hope that somebody was looking for her every day. My name is Josh Melton. I'm the Assistant Director of the Criminal Investigation Division for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. We don't have the evidence in this case to know for sure whether or not Summer was abducted or whether or not she walked away from her home and became lost. It's really important to us to not focus all of our efforts on just one of those two. Many people have speculated what they think has happened in this case. The difficult part of the speculation is that if we as investigators speculate and focus our efforts in one direction, we're making a huge mistake. We have to make sure that we're being completely comprehensive as we investigate. We continue to focus on ground search efforts. We continue to focus on interviews of those who may have information about vehicles that have traveled through the area or technology that could have been used that may give us an investigative lead. All stones are being turned over. We have some of our most talented agents assigned to this case. We have brought in subject matter experts within TBI from across the state to assist in this investigation. We have thrown everything that we know to throw at this case, and we haven't had the answers that we need yet. We know we'll get them, but we don't have them today. Children are our top priority at TBI. They are the most vulnerable population that we have. They're our most precious things in our world. Our commitment to the public is that we're not going to allow this case to sit on a shelf. We are committed to bringing Summer home, and we will keep working on this case until she is home.
You know, I really appreciate that they did this video, and that's a top guy. That's not just an agent on the ground. He's up there. And a lot of us, we haven't given up on her, because I definitely haven't, but it's frustrating, the lack of answers, the lack of everything. And obviously TBI is as frustrated as we are. And again, this short video to me is giving me more hope that they're going to find the answers, that justice will come for Summer Wells, and she deserves every bit of it. But the sad thing is, her parents, they are less than committed to finding their daughter. As you know, as most of you know, they also lost custody of their 3 boys about a month after Summer Wells went missing. The Child Protective Services folks came out and took custody of the boys, and only just recently did they get their permanent homes. They were in foster care all this time, and just hearing pretty recently, not a lot of details come out because they are kids, they are juveniles, but that the boys are doing well, they are thriving, and they are in wonderful hands. And it's another case where Summer saved her brothers. And we've seen the home, the lifestyle that have there on Ben Hill Road. And I'm not saying that, they have to be rich. People don't have to be rich to be good parents. But the things that have gone on that hill from the moment we were introduced to Don and Candace and crew, it is disturbing. And the focus should always be on Summer. And it's sad when others, when the community, when the public are more committed to a child than their parents are. Because I know a lot of us out here are committed to keeping her face out there, her name out there. And Don and Candace, they barely lift a finger, especially Candace. As a matter of fact, they just had an interview with Ansley Daniels, and Candace couldn't even hang out for more than a few minutes before she decided to get up and walk away.
I spoke with both Dawn and Candace Wells in Kingsport at a place with deep meaning to Summer's disappearance. Borden Park is anything but quiet this time of year. But 3 years ago, it was filled almost weekly with people praying for Summer Wells.
I see all these families, with their kids and how much they enjoy them and stuff, and we were stripped away from all our kids. All our kids have been kidnapped from us by DCS, and who knows, we're not sure about Summer, but we know about where our boys are at.
You can't ever have an interview with Don and Candace without them blaming other people. Don insists, obviously to this day, that Child Protective Services stole the boys from them. They stole the boys. Well, Don, I think that is anything but the truth. Your daughter, Summer, went missing. She disappeared, she vanished, whatever you want to call it. We don't know all the circumstances surrounding it, but one day she was there and the next she was gone. So do you think that the state, that Child Protective Services is going to be okay with you having the other 3 children in that home? Yeah, I don't think so, Don.
While the prayer vigils are now few and far between, Dawn and Candace Wells haven't stopped praying that their daughter Summer will be found.
We have hope, always. But there's not much hope in this world. We have to trust God that there's hope in eternal life in heaven.
Summer was reported missing on June the 15th of 2021.
We know that she was taken off our property, and we know she was taken away in a vehicle, or they would have found her in the area if she was somewhere in the area. But who's responsible for her? We don't know.
I asked Dawn and Candace when was the last time they heard from investigators.
We haven't lately at all. It's been a while. Over a year, I think. I haven't talked to any law enforcement at all. I tried to talk to the FBI agent about it, but that didn't go anywhere.
Don says he feels that he and his wife Candace were targeted by the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office.
They intimidated us, they belittled us, and done everything they could amidst all the chaos, and then the CPS was there doing the same thing.
He hasn't spoken to law enforcement, to Hawkins County, TBI, in at least a year. A year. So, at least last June, if that. That is telling in of itself. Because I hate to compare cases, but Brandy Neal and Tyler Vaughn, they talk to law enforcement practically daily for updates on their son Michael. Yet, you've got Don and Candace Wells with a daughter who went missing about a month and a half before Michael. And, we haven't talked to them in like a year.
When asked about how he thinks about Summer's disappearance 3 years later, Don spoke about a Department of Children's Services investigation.
They said somebody had called and said that we was giving our kids loaded guns to play with. And so they closed the case June 14th, which is something CPS does not do. They don't just close cases. So it's really odd and mystifying why they closed the case June 14th, and then 24 hours later, Summer's gone.
Summer's mother, Candace, sat in for part of our interview, but got up after a few questions.
Look at Candace, wearing her best plaid PJs, oversized t-shirt, and I don't think she's wearing a bra. At least Don put on a shirt with a collar, although I kind of wonder what's up with his hair. It's really strange. But yeah, they're classy folks, as we know.
She was going to try, but her emotions are just too much.
The last update in the Summer Wells case from law enforcement was an age-progressed photo released in June of last year. This image was released by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. If you have any information about the whereabouts of Summer Wells, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. That number is right there on your screen.
Candace was too emotional. Oh, she's so emotional. She couldn't sit here for an interview. It was hard enough for her to put on some, throw some clothes on and come out here. Come on, Candace. Put on your big girl panties and be a mother. But you're really not a mother, are you? You gave birth to these children. You gave birth to Summer, her brothers, and previous children before you met Don. And it's sad. It's really sad that you fail these children. It's very, very sad. Don has a lot of issues, but at least he somewhat tries to be presentable and come out and speak. Do I believe everything that comes out of his mouth? No, absolutely not. But again, the amount of trying, or at least trying to make himself look somewhat better, at least Don makes a bit of an attempt. So again, we are here 3 years later, and the parents, one of them can't stay long enough to answer any questions because, God forbid, you make her upset or have to remember the script. And the other one, well, he's still saying that he'll see her in the resurrection, and well, it's hope is out there, but hope's just not a lot and plenty, according to Don. Again, this is a very sad case. These children, the only good thing that comes out of it is that Summer saved her 3 brothers from this horrific place. 2 parents who really aren't parents. They got together. They created 4 children together, and that doesn't make you a mom or a dad. Just made you procreated and created a human being. And they were definitely not parents to Summer. And her brothers, they weren't very good. But what kind of a mother doesn't care to look for her daughter? It disappoints me constantly, and I try not to let it disappoint me, the lack of care from Candace and Don. But hey, it's telling, and we know that Hawkins County, TBI, the FBI, they are completely aware of the lack of interest on the part of these parents. And remember, they're still persons of interest. They've tried to say in the past that they were cleared. No, they're not cleared. They are in as much of a place of interest, potential suspects, as they were from the get-go. And I personally believe that Candace knows exactly what happened to Summer that day, and I also believe Grandis knows. And I believe Don knew at some point as well. Do I believe that they had anything to do with it? That I don't know. Was it an accident that they covered up? Did she dry drown? Was she sold? Again, there's lots of possibilities, but I do not believe for a second that she walked off her property into the wilderness where there's bears and all that sort of stuff. And I don't believe that she was abducted either. So it was somehow this was planned, or it was an accident that happened at the swimming hole or between the swimming hole and home. But the story that Candace has told, and she's even changed portions of it. The story that they are telling, it doesn't match up. So I hope and pray that one day they will find her. And sadly, I don't believe that she's alive. I believe she's been deceased for some time. I don't know how long, but I don't believe that Summer's alive. I would love for her to be alive, but I don't believe that at all. But I hope that there can be some kind of a closure. Not so much for Candace and Don, but for all these law enforcement folks, all these amazing volunteers, and for all of us out here that are advocates, because in this case, the family doesn't care. It's law enforcement and the community that cares more about Summer Wells than the Wells care about her. But let me know in the comments what you're thinking at this 3-year, I hate to say anniversary, but that's kind of what it is. I do have some hope seeing the video from TBI that they are going to not give up on her. And I'm going to continue to pray for her as I've done every day since I learned about her case in late 2021. All right, guys, I hope you have a great rest of the day. And most of all, stay safe.